Do you want to know how our portfolios have performed this year? Well, in this episode, we are going to dig in and find out. Welcome to Get Started Investing, a podcast where we unpack everything that you need to know to start or grow on your investing journey. My name's Bryce, and as always, I'm joined by my equity buddy, Ren. How are you going?
I'm good, Bryce. Very excited for this episode. This is our final episode of 2024 for Get Started Investing, and we have a good one for you. We're closing out the year by reviewing our portfolios. Individual holdings, we're going to talk about them and talk about how they've gone. We can compare our portfolios and ask who has done better in 2024. And we're wrapping our portfolios in this episode because we're wrapping the year and we're taking a break after this on Get Started Investing.
We are.
We're going to take
not too long.
Most of December off.
We won't be gone. Well, you're off to get married.
I am off to get married.
Very, very much looking forward to that. Then we're going to roll into Christmas. It really is going to be the festive season for us, well, for everyone.
Yes.
And then we will be back with the summer series from the second week of Jan.
Yes. We've planned it to help you set up 2025 to be your best financial year yet. So wherever you're listening or watching to this, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that series. But Bryce, let's pull the covers back and unveil how our portfolios have gone this year.
Well, I think before we do, Ren, we should actually start by looking at how the markets have gone.
Okay.
Because that will probably contextualize our portfolios. So the S&P 500, the major index over in the States, top 500 companies, at the time of recording, and this is early December, is up 27%. The NASDAQ 100, top 100 tech companies, is up 26%. The ASX 200 is up 11% here in Australia. And then the MSCI All World Index, which just measures all markets, is up 9%.
Nice. Now, those are pretty incredible numbers.
Amazing numbers.
And I think it's worth bearing in mind that at the start of the year and throughout this year, those numbers weren't guaranteed.
Nothing's guaranteed in investing.
True. 2022 was a really tough year. 2023, the markets responded a little bit, like it was a decent year. But there was a lot of conversation about an incoming recession. There was a lot of conversation around interest rates being too high and the consumer struggling and people expecting consumers to stop spending and businesses to struggle and for the economy to go into a recession. That was a lot of the conversation in 2023. And I think a lot of people could have been scared off investing because they thought it wasn't the right time.
Absolutely.
And I think those numbers that you've just spoken to is the lesson that we've been taught over and over again while doing this podcast. It is that it is impossible to time the market and you need to be invested so you don't miss those good days, those good months, or in this case, those good years.
100%. I mean, sometimes as well we get some commentary around the assumptions we put into our compound calculators.
Yes. Which we stand behind.
We've got the data to show you. But like these numbers are just such a great illustration of, 2 or 3 years of these can compound very, very quickly. Now, in terms of performance, we've speak a lot this year about these, ETFs that are the all-in-one, and a lot of the Equity Mates community have these in the portfolios, and these ETFs wrap up all of those markets that we just spoke about. So VDHG this year has done 15%, and DHHF, which is the Beta Shares All Growth, has done 19%. So again, nothing to complain about there.
Well, Bryce, if you want to talk punchy assumptions in a compound interest calculator, how about this?
Okay.
Take DHHF's 19% that it returned this year and say, if I invested $100 a week over 30 years and got 19% return a year, how much do you reckon I'd have?
A lot.
Just shy of 8 million. Now, let's be clear. That 19% is an unrealistic long-term assumption. But it is a great year, and it's been a great year to be invested. And we are confident that over the course of our investing lives, there will be more years that return 19%. There'll be years that return more than 19%, and you'll want to be invested for those years.
Yeah. So, without further ado, should we jump into it?
Let's do it. Why don't you kick us off?
Okay. So just a reminder, I have 4 ETFs in my portfolio, starting from...
Your core portfolio.
In my core portfolio, yes. Starting from worst performer is the Vanguard Europe. It's up 6% for the year. Vanguard Asia ex Japan is up 15% for the year. Then I've got my gear, which is the Beta Shares ASX, or All Australian Shares. It's up 25%. And then my US exposure is GGUS. Beta Shares Leveraged US. It's up 67%. So across all four, if we just take an average, 28.25% for the year.
Nice. Okay, great. So you beat the market.
Beat the market.
That's the power of leverage.
That's the power of leverage. Yeah, absolutely.
Any reflections on those numbers?
Europe is a drag.
Yeah.
Like looking at that, I would love to have had the money that's in Europe in something else, but it's easy to say that when the other things are ripping.
Yes.
I might not say that when they're not. But also, as I've spoken about on Equity Mates, almost 45% of my portfolio is now in gear and GGUS.
Yeah, because they've just grown ahead of the others.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so I need to... Well, I'm contemplating doing something about that.
Yeah. Bryce called an advisor that we trust, Charlie Viola, over on Equity Mates Investing podcast. So you can listen to that call. And he was talking about his portfolio weighting problem and what to do about it. So you can go and listen to that episode. But to talk to my core, so I also have 4 ETFs. I don't have the leverage that Bryce has. So I'll start with, I have the same European ETF. We obviously measured it on a different day because I've got it as up 7%.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Then Vanguard Asia up 16%. IOZ, the iShares ASX 200 ETF, up 11%. And IVV, the S&P 500 ETF, up 33%. So those positions are all equal weighted in my portfolio. And so over the year, up 17%.
Nice.
So, bang on market average, which is exactly what I would expect from my core portfolio.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
You wouldn't expect anything else. I think the big difference for you and I, Ren, is that our core portfolios are made up of 4 different ETFs.
Yep.
As we said, that what you have achieved there, 17%, is very much in line with the portfolios that are constructed with a bunch of ETFs underlying them, VDHG and DHHF. So true to label.
$100 a week, 30 years, 17%.
6 million.
4.8 million.
Compounding.
Big difference if you think about it. 4.8 if you
Yeah.
get 17%, 19%, 7.8. Neither of those are long.
What about
realistic
28.25%?
The Money
Let's
Smart
not do it.
the Money Smart calculator doesn't let you go above 20%.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
'cause
smart.
it's
Otherwise,
un-
it's
yeah,
unrealistic.
it's
Yeah,
unrealistic,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice one. Okay, good. So those are our core, which make up, well, for me anyway, which make up a majority of my portfolio. Should we jump into satellite?
Let's do it.
If you're new to the show and you're wondering what core and satellite is, it's the investing strategy that Ren and I follow. And we've done an episode on it in a bit more detail. We'll put a link in the show notes if you want to listen to that over the summer. But let's do it. So my satellite is a lot more condensed than yours, Ren. I think I have about 7 positions,
Okay.
so I'll be able to whip through this pretty quickly.
Yep.
My newest holding, and I guess the lowest performer, not worst performer, but lowest performer, is my small cap position in Fairlight. They're an unlisted fund manager, up 9% for the year. I have 2 thematic ETFs, SEMI, which is semiconductors, and ATEC, which is Australian technology. Both have done reasonably well. ATEC, the best performer of those, up 48%. My best performer, though, has been not a stock, but a cryptocurrency.
Nice.
Bitcoin, up 121%. So, some pretty solid performers in there. Alphabet, 30%. Berkshire, 40%. I can't complain with those. My average performance for the year across my satellite, 42.43%. And a reminder, the satellite positions for us is a way that we try and beat the market. And so certainly in this instance, at least I've been able to do that. And I'm sure, Ren, you have as well. So where are you up to?
Yeah, so I have some individual stocks. I have more individual stocks than you.
Yes.
And then I've also got some thematic ETFs and active managers. Tip of the hat to Munro Global Growth. MAET is the ticker. That's up about 34% year to date. Beta Shares Global Cybersecurity Hack has actually underperformed the market, up 22%. But that one has a strong longer term track record. But to get to my individual stocks, it's been a pretty good year. And it's been a rebounding year in some cases. Like some of these numbers look great, but if you take like a 3 or a 5 year view, you can see that some of the numbers are part of a turnaround story.
Yep.
To give you an example to make that clear, I can look at my year-to-date performance for Spotify, a stock that I own, and say it's up 154%.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad. I've more than doubled my money. But if I go out to 5 years, 5 years, it's actually up more. It's up more than 200%. But if I say from the peak of 2021, it fell off a lot and then it's rebounded and it's up 30%, 32% in that time.
Yeah.
So you do just have to remember that 1 year pictures never tell the whole story, but the 1 year picture is pretty nice. On average, my individual stock portfolio is up 68.5%.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very solid.
Yeah.
Very solid indeed.
Notable names, there's some Aussie ones in there. So ResMed is up 50%, WiseTech is up 70%, Catapult up 157%.
Solid.
Overseas, my biggest individual stock is Axon Enterprise, up 157%. Spotify, I mentioned, up 153%. Hit IQ, that's an Aussie one, up 110%. Tiny little specky, had done nothing and then it's kind of jumped recently. Bitcoin, up 126%.
Yep.
But my best performer, C Limited, up almost 200%.
Surprising I saw that.
Yeah. The thing is, though, again, it's a story of a real fall off in the post-COVID years and rebounding. And in fact, it has nowhere near rebounded where it was at the peak.
At the peak, yes. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, nonetheless, some pretty incredible numbers there. And I think, as I said, like the whole purpose of our satellite portfolios is to try and beat the core. And in both instances, we've certainly been able to do that. Any kind of final thoughts?
Investing is pretty powerful.
Yes.
Yeah, I think.
Yes.
Look, I think this has been a really good year, and that's been nice. And it's not to say that next year will be this good. It's just like we just don't know when the good years will come. And I think to close this out, I want to share some research that we included in our second book, Don't Stress, Just Invest, available wherever good books are sold, makes a great Christmas present, and just won Best Investment and Personal Finance Book at the 2024 Business Book Awards. So don't take our word for it. Take the fine judges over there.
Yes.
But there's this research from Bank of America that had a look at what happens if you miss the best days. And it's wild to the point that I actually didn't believe it when I first saw it. So Bank of America looked back to 1930 and then to into the 2020s. So almost 100 years of stock market returns. And they're looking at the S&P 500 in that time. If you had just invested in the index, you would have got a 17,715% return. So almost 18,000%. If you'd invested $1,000 in 1930, it would be $178,000. Okay, pretty good.
Yeah.
If you miss the best 10 days, just 10 days of each decade in that time, rather than 17,000% return, do you know what your return would be?
12?
Yeah, 12,000.
Yeah.
No, 28%.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's because there's just these like big days where like the stock market rebounds, and if you miss those days and then you just have the loss, then you just like the losses compound over time.
Yeah.
And so if you don't believe the research, as I didn't when I first read it, have a look at the Bank of America study or pick up our book, because it is wild, but it is just the clearest reminder that like the power of investing is staying invested and catching the good days. And because you don't know when those good days will come, you just need to be invested.
Yeah.
At all times.
Absolutely.
Don't try and time the market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's we over on Equity Mates over the summer series, we're interviewing 12 of Australia's leading fund managers and financial advisors, and I remember one of them saying that despite the craziness and euphoria that has been of this year, they are 100% invested for that exact reason. Yeah. So
So take that message into summer, I think. Enjoy your time. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, enjoy your winter. Either way, whatever the season, wherever you are watching or listening, make sure you stay invested. And we'll be back in your ears and on YouTube at the start of 2025 with our summer series to help you make 2025 your best investing year yet. So make sure you're subscribed, make sure you stay invested, and enjoy your time off.
That's it. The series kicks off on the 7th of Jan. And for the first time ever, we actually have an accompanying handbook that will help you through each episode to provide additional tools and resources to get you started in 2025. So thanks for listening. It's been an absolute joy bringing you all of our investing experience for this year. Cannot wait to pick it up in 2025.